Patrick, just your thoughts on the playoff run that your team went on and the overall season that you guys just had as an organization.
I'm not happy sitting here today. Definitely not satisfied. We lost our last game, and it was only in round 2. To reflect on the whole season, you back it up when you guys were sitting in front of us, and Jim Rutherford said that if everything goes right, we have a chance to be a playoff team. And when Toc and I talked during the year, it was about the process leading up to the playoffs and how do we get better every day. And I think if you look at the segments of our games, I think we got better. But that being said, we're not satisfied at all. You don't know how many chances you're going to have to play in Game 7. And my message to the players is that this is something you're going to bear with you the whole summer, that we lost our last game, and that was only in round 2. It's just going to get harder. And you can talk about the tough learning for some of the guys that haven't been in the playoff environment, and it sure is a different animal. Playing 82 games versus getting in every second day, and every game is just getting harder and harder. So can't say enough about the fans and my experience being in Vancouver here. It was amazing what they did for us. The one game that stands out is when we're down 4-2 against Edmonton, and the fans gave us a win 5-4 there with Garland's late goal. It was amazing. Driving in game days and watching all the jerseys, I mean, guys talked about it. Ryan Johnson, my assistant GM, kept saying, like, hey, you wait on a sunny day when the playoff is in Vancouver. It's just amazing. So I think the players expressed their appreciation to the fans. They expressed their interest. They want to stay here. They want to continue to build. And I'm pleased with the process from the coaches, how they worked with the players. But that being said, not satisfied.
You talk about not being satisfied. At the same time, this group took some big strides, accomplished a lot. How does what this group did this year color how you approach things going forward with some tough decisions to make this summer?
Yeah, and I think that's the meetings I'm going to have with Rick and the coaches here moving forward, and with the hockey operations staff. And as I said, the players expressed their interest to stay. We all know we have a salary cap, so we want to be a competitive team moving forward. So it's only so much I can pay certain individuals, and hopefully we can find ways to keep a lot of players, because I do think that a lot of them have a chance to, with the coaches here, take the game to the next level.
Rick, congratulations on winning Coach of the Year. Petey came in here a little while ago and said that he was playing with an injured knee. Said that it happened in January and that it got worse as things went on. Was there any consideration to holding him out for a period of time then, to potentially letting him rest to be better down the stretch?
Yeah, I think he has some tendonitis. No, you obviously go through the doctors and the trainers, and we felt, it was fine to keep going. But yeah, no, we didn't feel we had to shut him down.
And Patrick, it looked like this team, while it accomplished a lot, it looked like offensively, even when Brock was healthy and Petey was healthy, that they may have still been a forward short, a top 6 forward short. I know that was a big topic of conversation around the trade deadline. Watching the way things played out, is that something, in hindsight, you might have been more aggressive at that time of year, or did you do everything you could do? And how did you see it as it played out?
Yeah, I think we had, when we talked about the lineup and the roster we had and moving forward, and where we can allocate money and what would give us the best chance to win games in the playoffs, we felt strengthening the middle was a priority with Elias Lindholm. Would I have access to more assets and money, I would definitely added a top 6 forward. But we didn't have that opportunity, and I think that's something we're going to look at here to see what part of our lineup we need to improve on. We still have a lot of younger players that are knocking on the door, and with a good summer, should be ready to take a big step.
Rick, congratulations.
Thanks.
I always knew you could be a 500 coach, so.
I just made it.
A couple of questions rolled into one, but it's about your staff.
Yeah.
Do you, and I'm thinking partly of Sergey because he's sort of part-time.
Yeah.
But do you expect all of your staff to be back? Do you expect to add anyone to your staff perhaps to coach the power play?
Yeah, we're talked yesterday, Patrick and I try to keep this intact. Yeah, you're looking at all options. The power play obviously is something we got to look at. I'm not quite sure it's I think it's more of a connection thing for me. Game 7, 4-minute power play. I don't think it's about plays. I think it was about a connection thing, and that's on me. I got to get these guys connected a little bit more when the pressure hits. You got to remember, Edmonton's been in that situation the last 7, 8 years in those power play situations. It's the first time for those guys, and we got to make sure that going into next year that when those situations arise, we can handle that those situations. So. When you got the twins, you got Gonchar there, you got Yogi and myself, I think it's a pretty knowledgeable staff. I don't think you just need, me personally, is if there's a guy out there that I feel is the guy we would look at, but I don't know if that's the case here personally.
Okay. And for you, Patrick, I mean, you talked about it in your opening statement about, having lost Game 7 and remember that over the summer. You have a lot of young players who this is their first taste, and you probably know yourself, often the teams that get that first taste, they regress the next year, and it happened here in 2020. It even happened back in the Sedin's Luongo team. The first time they made the playoffs, they missed the next year. Are you concerned about that you have, again, so many young players who haven't handled winning? That's something you have to be aware of.
Well, I would lean towards the opposite. I would think they're gonna have a taste of it now, and I would hope they're gonna want it even more. And for us as a staff, myself and Rick, it's about communication here, and we have set the standard here now, where the players know what the expectations are coming into training camp, and we got the respect back. Game 1 next year is going to be hard because we won the division. They all know that we're a good team. I think, based on the conversation I had with the players, they wanted more. They got a taste of it, and they understand now that some of them said they didn't understand how hard every single game was. That you played Game 1, and suddenly one day later you're going to play Game 2, and it just get harder and harder as we go. And I think that's where good teams. I think we talked about practice habits too, or practice habits needs to be better. The first half is about building up for the second half, and I think that's where I saw some inexperience from our players, that they weren't prepared to play meaningful games in February, March, and April. We got to be better there.
Patrick, we've congratulated Rick, but we should congratulate you as well on the being a Jim Gregory finalist. What does that mean to you?
Well, I believe, and we believe that individual success comes from team success. And in this particular case, it's definitely, it's not about me. It's about what the coaches have done to the players, and in the end of the day, I think the players contribute to this award. My staff, they've done a tremendous job, and it's hard. I'm sure he said the same thing. It's hard when you're sitting here and you lost. Individual awards, yeah, I respect it, and I'm happy that my peers voted, but I would rather have a team award.
And Rick, we don't get to see much of how you and Patrick interact. Can you talk to us a little bit about what your relationship has been like this year, and what he's been like as a general manager for you as a coach?
Yeah, I think when you go through an interview process, I've been through a lot in my career. And a lot of people, GMs, when you interview, they always, what's your relationship? How do you feel a relationship with the GMs is? And, I'm very lucky. I mean, I got a little bit of a runway with knowing Jim and Patrick. But the personalities, how we mesh, even the way Patrick acts with our other coaches, like it's a tight group. He's around enough to be around. Like he's not in our faces. And he loves the feedback, even feedback that he doesn't want to hear, and he takes it very well. And sometimes he doesn't. No, I should say. But I just think the connection, I think you have to be connected to your GM. And, there's going to be some bumpy days and stuff, but I think the communication is outstanding, just like the organization and stuff like that. That's the one thing the year and a half I've been here, like, you're going to go through issues here and there, but I think the communication has been awesome. The best, probably the best I've ever had as a head coach. Definitely.
Rick, in terms of creating a winning culture here, I'm curious how your relationship with Patrick helps create that. Like, what do you take away from management in terms of building a winning culture? I'm sure you get the players, you're in the room with them, but from management, what are you taking away from them? Or are you taking something and transferring it to the players? How is that winning culture being built from management from your perspective?
Well, I think you got to, you talk about systems and what kind of, how you want to play. And then obviously the management GM, they try to tailor that to the system and, what the coach likes. But it's not just, it's obviously, like I value their opinion too. This guy, but playing this guy, this type of player, do you need this? I couldn't be a GM. It's a hard job to piece things together because coaches, all they want is want. And it's hard to get, right? But that's why I feel like we're connected in the sense, I think we know how to play, how we want the Canucks crest and how we want to play. I think we're all on the same page. And it's good to have some good debates on whether it's this player or this draft pick or whatever, well, not the draft picks for me, but more the players and the way we play. Patrick gives us a lot of autonomy when it comes to that, how we play system-wise. And when it comes to players, like I said, they value our opinions. And even like Footy and Gaunch or Yosi, he values those opinions too. I think that helps create that environment.
Patrick, a lot of the guys who are free agents had very strong playoffs. Some of them didn't. How much does that weigh their playoff performance as opposed to regular season performance weigh on how you will try to re-sign them or how aggressively to re-sign them?
Yeah, I think you longer you have a player and you more you see them in critical games, you more you get to know about them. And I was very pleased with a lot of them's performance here and how they expressed their pleasure to work with the coaching staff and how much the coaches have helped them to be ready for those situations. And as I said to each one of them, my preference is to keep them, but I also going to find a way to keep them where money going to make sense for us in order to be competitive moving forward.
Do you have I'm sure you've known this is coming for a long time, but do you have a pecking order in your head? This is the way I'm going to go to you first, then you. Like how I'm just wondering from the inside, how are you kind of approaching it?
Yeah, that we have different ideas how we want to structure our team moving forward, and conversations with Rick, the priorities, and we have early conversations leading up to the playoffs with some of the players, and we decided during the playoffs to keep it quiet here. But again, I think we have also a lot of younger player in our system here that deserves to get an opportunity coming training camp, and we might leave some spots open for them to come in and compete and give us more.
Patrick, understanding now that Elias was playing through something over the second half, but also hearing Talk say that you didn't think about sitting him down, he didn't look anything like the player that put up 102 points a year ago and was the player of the month or one of the stars of the month in January. What did you see and what didn't you see from Elias down the stretch and into the playoffs? And now with the new contract kicking in, obviously, expectations and pressure come in a market like this one. So what do you guys as an organization have to do to help him get back to being that dominant player.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The expectations comes, and I don't know what he said when he was sitting up here, but I'm sure he wasn't pleased with his performance after the All-Star break, and I think he learned a lot. I think he's hungry. He expressed it right away that he knows what he needs to improve on here in the summer, and he wants to come back and be a really, really impactful player. His talent level is unique. I mean, that doesn't go away. Again, I think this was his first playoff experience, playing every second day with traveling. And when you're being a player like him and Quinn Hughes, they all going to play harder against you. So what do you learn, and how do you prepare yourself leading up for the second half? And I think, to be honest, some of the additions we did last summer was to bring in guys with that experience that could help us, teaching the young guys what practice habits are the first part. And I think we got to get better. I think our guys knows that you prepare yourself the early part of the season for what's coming the second part. And I think that's something that coaches we have here, they have the experience. So it's about willingness to be coached and listen and execute.
And you were asked earlier about the lack of scoring from the wings. That became a bit of an issue. How do you make sense of Ilya Mikheyev's final 60 games with one goal, playing every night, playing in the top six a fair bit? And is there an NHL player there that can contribute to a team that wants and needs to get better?
In Ilya?
Yeah.
Yeah, I truly believe so. It wasn't his fault that he was put in a top six position. It was my fault. I don't think anybody was expecting Ilya Mikheyev to be a top six player. He's a good mid-six player, and we all know guys that missed playoffs. Oh, sorry, missed training camp, especially with the injury that he had. And I mean, I'd never seen a guy working harder at his game to get better. And obviously, it's sad to see somebody losing his confidence as he did. He created chances and he played hard for us. I'm convinced that he's going to come back and provide the value that he has and the intangibles as he brings with speed. But again, my job is to put players in a position where they belong and for them to be successful. And Ilya is a good penalty killer guy, and he's a guy that could play in different positions, both sides, and I'm sure he's hungry to come back. And remember, I think his first 20 games, he produced there, and then unfortunately for different reasons, he lost, I believe, his confidence.
Rick, your team was very potent offensively during the regular season. During the playoffs, the lack of shots became a major talking point. Yeah. You pointed to a lack of execution with missed shots, but are there some things in terms of systems that you will look at during this offseason to make adjustments heading into next season?
Yeah, I'd be crazy not to. I got to do a deep dive. There is some simple things of hitting the net, working on your shot, changing angles. I mean, that's things you got to work on, and it's my job to make sure these guys keep developing that skill. There could be some system stuff there. We have some really good hockey minds in that dressing room, coaching staff. So we'll look at that stuff. I still believe. I know a lot of people here like shot volume, which I don't mind. I'm not quite sure just throwing a puck at that with nobody in front. Now we got to get some guys to get to the net. We need more net front presence, things like that. But yeah, no, that I guess to answer your question, yeah, I got to look at myself and look at a deep dive. Can we give the player? I always feel that as a coach, you got to give the players something to look at, and maybe in going into the training camp, maybe something we'll work on a little bit more offensively. I think we were heavy system last training camp. I wanted to make sure that guys knew exactly what we needed at certain times, and I think we were successful because we did that training camp. I think that next training camp might be a little bit different, a little more creativity, a little more skill-oriented. That will help some guys. But the good old-fashioned, we need people to get to the net. We gotta get that in there too.
One of the things that we saw, it was a major difference from
Yeah.
previous seasons, was you limited rush chances against odd man rushes, but you didn't attack much in transition. Did that lack of attacking off the rush make it more difficult to put teams on their heels during the playoffs?
Yeah, and it comes from execution too, and getting your defenseman in the rush. You know, I love the makeup of our D. It's big, gangly. You know, you keep McDavid at what, I don't know how many, 3 assists and 5. Like that's hard to do, and I think that I credit our D from that. So sometimes you got to take a little bit. You got to rob Peter to pay Paul sometimes, right? But saying that, we do have to get better on the rush and more execution. I think at the start of the year, first half of the year, I think we got some good luck. We scored on a 3-on-2. Our conversion rate was high. Second half, it wasn't, and we weren't getting a lot of 3-on-2s and 4-on-2s. But it's another thing we got to look at for sure.
Patrick, knowing what you have already on the roster, what would you like to add to the roster? Other than Wayne Gretzky.
I already gave him the list.
Yeah. And it's a short list. No, I think we're going to continue to see and yeah, a top 6 winger would be nice. I think we need to add some speed. But again, for us is to meet with my staff here and see what we have in-house. And as I said, I'm sure a lot of players in Abbotsford took big steps here. So we'll continue here over the next couple of weeks and see where what we have in terms of free agency and the players who's going to stay here or how much cap space we have left.
And Rick, looking at the Oilers series in the end, is there something you wish maybe you'd done differently in terms of setting your lineup, whatever it might be?
Yeah, it's tough to play the what if game. The lesson I learned, well, it's a lesson. You go into this season. Obviously that 4-minute power play. I think Mick had that chance on that breakaway. You wish you could. What if we scored a goal? I think that would have loosened us up. Is I think once. We didn't score the power play. It wasn't great. I felt a lot of tightness from guys. Our execution went for there was about 20 minutes. We had a tough time making a tape-to-tape pass. It looked like a lot of guys, to be honest with you, wasn't they were nervous. I'm not sure they wanted the puck. I think there was more like playing safe, and that's when Edmonton started to come. When we got down 3-0 in the third period, it was like you could see. Connor Garner led the charge. He goes, "Give me the puck," and that's the style we wanted. So I think it was a lesson learned. I guess your question is, yeah, I learned under pressure that we got to, maybe we got to figure with experience, handle when teams hit the pressure on us. How do we handle it? I thought this year, we made strides in that, over the year. So I got to give the guys credit, but that Game 7 is the ultimate test, right? That's ultimate pressure. And I thought there was a 20-minute, we didn't handle it well. And, the 11 guys at first time in the playoffs, the young, the Huggies and Petey, never been in those situations, that's the way they got to they'll be better for it. So I think that'll help. Plus the coaches, I got to come up with other ways if that ever happens again, how do we handle it better? So I think everybody takes a piece of the pie and gets better at it.
Patrick, quite a few players this year enjoyed career best seasons in Rick's system, including some of the free agents that you signed last year. Do you think that makes Vancouver a more attractive place for free agents this summer? Do you hope to leverage that?
Yeah, and I think I said it last year too. That was something I recognized, and the conversations here, how can you not be excited about how the fans treat the players and the excitement around here? And Jim, Rick has said it several times that the respect we get back here, the players deserve it, playing for the crest again. And I also believe that the staff we have here get recognized for how they work with the individuals to become better. And I feel that that's attracting part of the game nowadays.
Quinn Hughes took another step forward this year, playing alongside Filip Hronek. How much credit do you give Hronek for unlocking that side of Hughes, and how does that play into the upcoming negotiations?
Yeah, no, I think they played really well together. Two good puck-moving guys. I think there is part of their games that I like together, but I also think that they're capable of having their own pair. I think you can get more out of Hronek offensively. I think he maybe played a little bit cautious with with Quinn at times, backing him up and giving him the puck. But I know they really like to play together. We expressed to Phil that we want to keep him here and be a part of us moving forward. And we'll see if we can get the deal done. But we still he's an RFA, so we control him here for another year.
Patrick, big picture, it's clear from the way you've spoken throughout this availability that you're not going to be content to just run in place, that next year you want to go further than this. And yet we know how challenging with the cap and with all your expiring players it's going to be to just return this team, much less get better. When you think about the puzzle pieces and how they fit together, just big picture, what's the main challenge as you're considering it going into this offseason?
Well, the main challenge is to fit 23 players on the roster. That's always the biggest challenge, and I think that's where our job here is to build the roster and the lineup and see what areas that we're willing on to. As I said, to put some younger players in, and by allocating money, I believe our goaltending or back end is not the best. One of the better ones in the playoffs. In the middle, we were really strong, and I don't know. That's something we need to talk about to see what the formula works and I think it's somehow a copycat league, but you're also going to be projecting, how are the other teams going to be built this summer, and what type of hockey are we going to see next year? We know that a lot of teams in our division are going to be good even next year. The West was impressive this year, really impressive. So this is something we're going to talk about here over the next couple of weeks, but it's a challenge to get the pieces in the puzzle.
I think Rick described the defense core as gangly a little bit earlier in this press conference. You've got Dakota Joshua, Myers, and Zadorov, three guys who share some common traits in that they're towering presences, play with some snarl and heaviness. In your lineup, how crucial is it to maintain the size edge that seemed to be such a significant part of this team's identity as the year went along?
Yeah, we wanted to keep all those guys, as I said, and hopefully we can come to an agreement and work with them. And again, for me, it's not about giving one guy all the money. It's about finding ways to be competitive and finding ways to have players that are able to improve, as we saw this year. Dakota, were coming in here highly recommended by my staff, and we have seen him over the 2 years for him to take steps. And we'll find the next Dakota Joshua here to the coaches to work with. I'm confident in my staff to be able to provide the right personnel for Rick and his coaches to work with and be successful. moving forward.
Rick, the season ends very abruptly, Game 7, and some of your players have mentioned that. So, with your experience as a player and as a coach, what do you tell the players going into the offseason so that they get that rest that they're needed and they're not, fixating over the next 3 months about that Game 7 and what could have been different if different situations played out?
Yeah, I think obviously the exit means 20, 30-minute conversations, you go through each guy, but these 30 minutes that's it. Like, it's not this it. I mean, I'm going to be in contact. I might be flying to see a couple of guys. It's was it 4 months before training? It's a 3-4 month thing. It's not, I can't get it done in 30 minutes. There's some players in there that they know they have to get better fitness. Certain guys there, they got to work on their shot. That's the feedback as a coach you have to give. But then all of a sudden, as the summer goes, it's keeping in touch, make sure your staff are talking to certain players. We did that a little bit last year. I thought it really worked, and we're going to do it probably even a little bit more. Sending video to the players this summer, I think is really important. Mental reps. These are the sort of things you want to talk to your players for the half hour. But there's just so much more. And so I think. It's weird when you lose. You don't think you're going to lose, and then when you lose the next day, everybody feels empty, right? You're not. That's the hardest part. So, can you channel? Can you take the feelings that you had when you lose and what ifs for your training and your motivation and how you're going to get better? That's really what the summers are for. The other 30 or the other 28 teams are saying the same, or 20 whatever what's my math here? There's 4 teams left. 28 teams are saying the same thing right now. So we just got to make sure that we have a motivated group next year, and it's up to our staff here to make sure that they get the message.